on Instantly Dated Live.
This guy's got a bone disease. I never seen nothing like it.
He's a musical genius and
Today we're going to look at some spacemen, aliens, and robots that I collected when I was a kid.
an online superstar. We talk to Weird Paul on this episode of Instantly Dated Live. Welcome to Instantly Dated, the show about geek nerd culture. I'm your host, McHugh. Special guest for this episode, Weird Paul, coming to us from Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, I believe. And as always, TV's Sean Brennan with us. Well, Weird Paul had mentioned in his last thrift store video haul, he reminded me of the Hills department store. He had a balloon that said, what was it, Weird Paul?
To just say no on one side, which is a very 90s thing, I think. And on the other side, it had the Hills department store logo. I couldn't believe I found those balloons. All the Hills closed in 1999, so those are pretty old now.
I was always impressed with Hills because our Hills, I'm sure it's different everywhere, but our Hills melted down into a venture that then turned into a Kmart that then turned into nothing. And so I feel like Hills was like the top echelon of department stores. I'm sure it probably wasn't, but in Springfield it certainly felt like it anyway.
And I was checking out your Hills video. If you guys check it out on YouTube, where you can see the exterior of it, and you guys are going to parking lot. Were you guys shopping for anything specific on that day?
Well, my mother was the one shopping because we were sitting in the car while she was in the store, but my dad very rarely would let me take the camera out of the house. I had to beg him to let me take it down so I could film us driving to the Hills, and I am so glad to have that footage now. I'm probably one of the only people that has footage of the outside of a Hills store in the world.
When somebody does a documentary, they'll have to go ahead and harvest that from you. What were we going to say, Sean? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, because I watched that today, I hadn't seen a Hills in 25 years easily, but I remember them vividly. The thing that I remember most about them is that they were very they were very up to date for 1985. So like once 1985 passed, they started aging very quickly. But one thing that's interesting about them is that you can see hints of Hills in other stores like Target, for example, with the reds and the whites. This is something I remember. What struck me when I saw your video again, having not seen it in so long.
And Weird Paul, I was just watching your video about your camcorder, the original camcorder that you had, and this was a two-piece VHS unit, right, where you had the shoulder strap.
Wow.
That's what I was thinking of when he's doing this video, because when I had one, my dad got one in 1987. It was just the one piece, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, he's in the car with this two-piece, and then I'm wondering if you're going to go in the store with it. And as you're in the parking lot,
you had to have an assistant. You didn't even carry that thing around.
Have a gaffer.
I had a VCR in the car with me.
And as I'm wondering that, you pan over and you see the seat, and then you see the recording pack
sitting there
over there too. So that was really cool. But I'm wondering, you guys, either one of you, what other stores do you guys really miss, be they retail or video or anything like that?
I remember a lot of the places. I'd just go to the mall, and there are all the places that I would hang out in the mall, go to the mall. My favorite places are all gone now. I go to that same mall, and then none of them, literally zero of them, are still there. I would go to the machine shop, which was our arcade, and where we'd play all the Donkey Kong and Pac-Man all day. If I didn't have any money, I just watched other people play, and then I would go to the bookstore. We had Dalton Bookstore and Walden Bookstore, and I spent a lot of time in there. And then the toy store, KB Toys, those are all gone too. I really loved going in there, looking at all the Dungeons and Dragons figures, all the Star Wars stuff, All those places are gone now. It's just nothing in there that gets me excited anymore going into the mall. But
it's teen girl clothes nowadays.
It really is.
The mall.
That's primarily what kind of stores you have in there now. But another toy store we had here in Pittsburgh was called Children's Palace, and it had the whole front of it looked like a castle, so it was cool. You're walking in the drawbridge when you went in. It really got you excited when you were a kid. You're like, this is really special, going in here. Your grandparents would take you in and buy you buy you some cheap toys. You felt like you were really doing something special that day, you know. It's not the same going into Toys R Us, you know.
I remember for years I would always see advertisements for it, but I remember I got this video cassette, the Cool Ghoul Zachary. It was a B movie host VHS tape.
Oh yeah.
And it had I don't know where Zachary was out of though, and there is some website out there that has, they're trying to index every single B movie late night host, but I'm gonna have to look up Zachary, and unfortunately I don't have that VHS tape anymore. And I used to have a collection of 400 or 500 tapes, and now I kick myself because one, there's availability of movies like VHS. As soon as stuff went to DVD, you just couldn't find as much stuff. And I was thinking, oh, the quality isn't going to be as good, but now I don't even care about the quality. I throw a VHS tape in, it's just fine to me too. It's no big deal.
I watch lots of VHS tapes. I was watching one today. I mean, I love watching movies on VHS. Like you said, it's some of that stuff's hard. It's still hard to find on DVD. Not everything has made the transition.
I miss the video store, the old school video store days. Our first VHS video stores, how you'd know if a movie was in was they had a coin on a ring, and if that coin on the ring was hanging below the video, you knew it was in. And I always used to think what a bad joke it would be, how easily it was to just switch those around. So like Spies Like Us comes out first day, and you're like, yeah, Spies Like Us is in. But then just some jackass, all they did was just switch the coins around. You get up there, oh, they switched the coins on you again. We really need a new way to do this.
I never heard of anything like that. Wow, that's
yeah.
Weird.
That's probably because it lasted for a year in Springfield, and they realized it was a dumb idea.
Well, I think that was the Showbiz video chain, which was a local chain. And they had one where I lived. I lived in the suburbs of Springfield, Illinois, which was Chatham. And let me tell you, when I was in junior high school, every day I was riding my bike to that video store. I mean, I must have spent so much of my parents' money. And we really didn't have any arcades there because it was this little town of 10,000. But, Weird Paul, like you were talking about, I didn't have any money to go play in these games. And I was thinking about that today because I keep seeing people's videos pop up, arcade memories and things like that. And I'm thinking, man, I never had the cash to pop that many quarters in, or you had to be really good at those games to keep it going without putting a quarter in, and I was never that good at all. So that was just something that, I would definitely not hang out too long. But some other stores that I remember was, like Sean was saying, Venture and Zayre.
Get it all, get to Zayre and get it all.
So that was the store to go to for toys. Prior to K's Merchandise. When we got K's Merchandise, then it became the catalog era. But prior to the catalog era in Springfield, all we had was Zayre to go to, because Zayre got all the new toys in first thing.
And Montgomery Ward's for me was bittersweet because usually my dad would end up in the hardware section. But I do remember getting some really cool Star Wars toys from Montgomery Ward's. I remember they had an absolutely amazing Christmas catalog. I did an episode around the holidays about I actually couldn't find the Montgomery Ward, so I had to end up doing the Sears catalog because that was online. And it was funny because all the toys that were super cool that you wanted, like He-Man or G.I. Joe, they always had some lower level no-name toy that was next to it, like Castle Mambu or whatever, with some rubber guys or something really crappy for parents that didn't know any better, stuff like that. And then Circuit City I wasn't really big on, but it was nice to have a competitor to Radio Shack and Best Buy. And I just heard that somebody bought the Circuit City name and they're going to try and do something with that. And you could still go to Montgomery Ward's online. I found out it was a mail order catalog company that bought it. But everything is overpriced that they have there, and it's kind of
What's really cool is my mom still has shopping bags from a lot of these stores that you were talking about here, Zayre, Montgomery Ward, Hills, and I'm going to be doing a video with my mom. We're going to talk about all our memories of all the things we bought at these stores and everything. It's going to be fun.
And a big thank you to Weird Paul for joining us. And make sure to check out his YouTube channel and subscribe to that. And he's all over social media. Just type in Weird Paul and you'll be sure to find him. And also make sure you subscribe to our show on YouTube and the podcast as well. For TV Sean Brennan, I'm McHugh.